So this is a band that I guess I don't. I got the impression these guys were kind of big in the underground hardcore metal scene before I caught up with them. Like this song was the first song I heard by them, and apparently it was a moment, like it was after a 10-year gap of no work, and they had come back and they're approaching their sound completely differently. Like there's no screaming vocals or growled vocals like this guy tends to do. It's all clean vocals, or as clean as this guy is known for. And the music it's aggressive. I've described it as like razor blades, or like it's machinery. It's industrial. It reminds me of Nine Inch Nails a little bit. But it's not anything like Nine Inch Nails. It reminds me of like Meshuggah a little bit, but it's too sloppy and punk rock to be Meshuggah. And there's like a darkness to it, and the song's funny, but like not like in a like laugh out loud funny way. It's kind of like the lyrics are poking fun. Like the song tells you in it, like, don't pay attention to this. Like, I'm just as lost and broken as the most broken asshole who's looking for help, and yet you still ask me for advice, and I'm going to give it to you, but don't listen to it. And I this is a band that as soon as I heard it, it became like my favorite song, like for a little while. And this song, like when this album came out, I declared it the best album of the year when it came out, and I showed it to all my friends, and they got angry at me, because it was unsettling and they didn't know what was wrong with me. I played it on my radio show, and everybody that listened complained about it, except for my dad. My dad called me and said, "What was that song? By who? Like, I want to listen to that again." And then, so because of that, they happen to be
cool though.
Oh, he is definitely cool. And he said to me, he said to me, if they come around and they play a show in Toronto, like, I want to go with you.
Oh, right.
So, and it was like a week or two later, I got an email from probably Ipecac Records, saying that they were going to be in Toronto. So we got tickets, we went to see them, and it's a very tiny little venue called Lee's Palace, and there's no seats, but there was a couple bar stools, and we managed to get our hands on them and put them in the best place in the venue you could possibly sit and watch the show. And they were explosive. It was debaucherous and gross. It was sticky and dripping, and there was like saliva and snot and hands and fingers going into orifices they shouldn't be going into. And at one point, the lead singer beat his face open with the microphone. It was bleeding all over the place. And,
oh my God.
And it was disturbing. And my dad was just dumbfounded. I think he didn't. Because he usually goes to see bands like Primus or like Steve Wilson or Zappa plays Zappa, Dream Theater. I think he thought it was going to be the same kind of people at this show. But we had a great time. I think he loved it. So anyway, we'll go with Long Road, No Turns by the Daughters off their album You Won't Get What You Want.
Everybody climbs up high and falls so far.
I was a wee bit out of sync there because I didn't get your countdown, but that's fine. I had the experience.
Oh shit! I spoke into the wrong microphone for the countdown. I'm really sorry.
Don't worry. Technical hitch, folks. That was. Yeah, it reminded me. Everything reminds me of something. It reminded me of a track called, I think it's called 24-track Loop from the first This Heat album. Have you ever heard that album? The yellow and blue one. It was it was a sort of it was an underground album in the wake of the sort of the Ultravox Vienna kind of era. It was there was a movement in, I don't even know what it would be called. It wasn't, what would it be called? I'm blanking on that, but it would include Cabaret Voltaire, Throbbing Gristle, and This Heat were one of them. There was a band called Metabolist that I quite liked, and it reminds me of that. It's that kind of relentless kind of boomf, 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 and the pitch shifting on the backing. Is that deliberately microtonal, do you think, or is it some kind of effect, or quite what are they doing there? I'm not sure. I can't even tell you what the instrumentation is there.
It's actually guitar, and it's
all
guitar.
Like,
and I don't know what they're doing to the guitars to make them do that. Like it's like they got custom made effects, you know. And there is also a.
Do you think is it a loop or is it played live?
When I saw them live, they played it and it sounded a lot like how it is there. And
wow.
in the first music video I saw them doing it was them. It was like them playing like in a studio or somewhere in a basement.
Right.
You know, so I'm not sure. I really don't know the source of the tracks. There is a girl on stage that plays a very minimal synthesizer, but it's usually mostly just like lots of deep bass tones, as far as I could tell. And but there's some spots in the album where you're gonna be like, oh yeah, that's definitely synthesizer, but like that clangy, like that was all guitar. And there was like, and both guitars, there's two guitar players, and they're playing in stereo, and they're like kind of alternating with each other, you know. And then it goes off. The one guy continues on with it. The other one starts to do like this thing with like his Eyebrow, or I'm not sure what he was doing, you know. And he starts to elevate it into this weird place, and it sounds almost like an old haunted organ or something, you know.
Yeah, it's very, it kind of transcends genre as well. I guess what you would, if you had to genreify it, you would say it was almost industrial. It's that it's got that kind of edge to it that some of the more experimental Faust stuff had when they reformed and started doing industrial type stuff with angle grinders and all that kind of thing. But this is much more tuneful. But that slipping of the pitch is, I've not heard that before. It makes me want to try that. You know, the pitch just slips slightly, because we're used to singers doing that. John Lydon being a great example. You know, he sings off key deliberately so that it kind of puts you on edge, kind of thing. But doing that with the whole backing, whilst the vocals are non-pitch, I would say they're not really pitched as such. It's really quite disturbing, which is obviously, I think, the effect that they're trying to have.
Oh yeah.
So success on that front. I'd like to hear some more to see how it fits in with into an album structure. So I definitely will check out some more. I'm not saying that I would sit and listen to that as a pleasurable experience. It is more of an experience rather than a listening experience for me. That sort of stuff.
I could do that.
But I would have it in my collection. It's just it would have a warning sticker on it probably.
Yeah, well, even the album cover is like it looks like a disembodied face. You know, it looks cold and uninviting.
Yeah.
You know, long. You know, You Won't Get What You Want is the name of the album. It's a testimony to the songs, the experience, and what they're talking about all in one, I think. You know, and it's, you know, so yeah, I get that. And you know what? There's not a song on the album that sounds anything like that song, but they all belong together. Yeah, like they're all drastically different. And
that makes it more interesting, I think.
Yeah, and it's one of those albums that you get 3 or 4 songs into it and you're going like, the level, the caliber of this stuff it's surprising how every song just keeps, you know, surprising you and taking you into a new direction, and it doesn't let up. You know, it doesn't, you know, it's not necessarily it's not the darkest song on the album. It's the single. It's the pop song of the album, that song.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, well that does sound intriguing.